urging calm, even as Russia troops and tanks cross across the country. The government there reporting the deaths of at least 40 soldiers. NATO has also responded, announcing plans to increase land, sea, and air forces to Ukraine's eastern flank. Joining me right now is Fox News Senior Strategic Analyst General Jack Keane. General, thanks very much for weighing in this morning. Your reaction to all that has taken place with the latest there in Ukraine.
Well, good morning, Maria. It's only a sad, tragic day here for what's taken place, the impact on the Ukrainian people, for sure. What Mr. Putin has selected here is the most ambitious option that was available to him, and that is a major campaign to topple the government and to do it as rapidly as possible. His strategic objective is one to really reconstruct the post-Cold War boundaries of Europe to his favor, and that includes Belarus and Ukraine, that are both now underneath his orbit. And also, to be frank, is to address what he sees as NATO's dominance in the region and to alter that balance of power to his favor. That's the strategic objective. The political objective, Maria, and we'll see this happen, is to install a new government. And that'll be likely Ukrainian, much like the Yanukovych government was. It'll be a stooge of Putin's that will take that government. And that'll be a while before we see that. It's not going to, I don't think it's going to happen today. But that's only his political objective. His military objective, which we're certainly focused on today, is number one, to defeat the Ukrainian military. Two, they're going to seize some key terrain in the country. And the third thing is they're going to facilitate the regime change that takes place. So what we've seen is pre-assault fires that are gone on for hours and multiple targets around the country. They're hitting command and control, air defense, which is limited in Ukraine military. Certainly the military positions themselves, military facilities, and also government facilities. So that's why over a dozen cities have received some form of air and missile attack going after some of those targets that are in those cities. They've also attempted to capture key airports so they can bring in follow-on forces, and they're doing that vicinity of the capital city as we speak, right now. And also, there's, in terms of the ground assault, there's 4 axes that they're operating on, and these are axes that we predicted. One is coming out of Belarus that is heading towards Kyiv. Another one is coming out of the central zone, and it's heading towards Kharkiv. The third one is in the eastern zone, where the troops had already moved in to occupy the former occupied territories, and they're expanding that to occupy all of the Donbass area. And then the southern zone, troops have come across from Crimea to occupy Odessa. Initially, that was reported as amphibious. I believe that's been now corrected, and there were ground troops and possibly paratroopers. So those are the 4 axes of advance. They're trying to do that near simultaneous. He's selected the most complicated, the most ambitious option to take. And he also believes that he has great confidence in his military, and he's confident they can achieve this objective. In a way, they're showcasing the military, too, in a way that was not our intent during Desert Storm, but certainly the world and the American people came to grips with America's military capability when they saw that happening. And that's what's going to happen here as a result of this. People are going to see that Putin has real military capability.
Cities. These were perfectly peaceful cities, and now they are under attack with shelling and airstrikes in Ukraine. President Biden has called this an unprovoked and unjustified attack. What do you want to see from the United States in the way of sanctions on Russia this afternoon? The president will address the nation, and his moves so far have been called weak. General Keane, Italy is now saying it's time to impose very tough sanctions on Russia. Our allies have stepped up, including Germany. What do you want to hear from this president?
Well, he's got to take the gloves off and really go after Putin. What has happened here is certainly historical, with huge strategic consequences, as I mentioned right at the beginning. And listen, so our audience understands, there's no amount of sanctions, no matter how tough they are, that's going to stop Putin from achieving the objectives that I laid out here. What the sanctions will do is punish him for his actions and also focus the world's attention on what a serious international violation this is. But the thought, even at this late date, and there's probably some people in the administration who have this thought, that somehow these sanctions will curtail Putin in terms of what he's trying to achieve. He's taken all of that into account before he started this ambitious and complex operation, to be sure. And yes, and I do believe we should have imposed these sanctions a long time ago with significant military aid, going all the way back to the initial provocation, which took place in March of 2021, with 70 to 90,000 troops then, and we ignored it. And that is when we should have gotten engaged. But that's all in the past now. Going forward, yes, the toughest sanctions, and we're imposing them for punishment and retribution, and also for accountability. But it's not going to stop Putin from installing a new government, Maria, or his military objectives that he's trying to achieve in defeating the Ukraine military. That's not going to stop. That operation is only going to stop when the mission is accomplished.
And the mission accomplished is going to also come with an interruption in the economic situation there. The Moscow Stock Exchange has at this point suspended trading. Moscow Stock Exchange closed. You've got worries about banks operating there, U.S. businesses in Russia and Ukraine. General, what's the impact on America as you see it so far?
Well, I think there'll be some cost imposed on us, to be sure, economically. Certainly price of oil to begin with. We're still buying 17 million barrels of oil from Russia every month. That's staggering realization that we have. We've done that to ourselves because this administration come in, and as opposed to continuing the pursuit for oil and gas independence and being the #1 power in the distribution of that in the world, began to curtail all of that. And we're back out buying oil from other people, to include our adversary here, the Russians. So the other thing I'm concerned about is when we impose tough sanctions, and we should take the gloves off and get after his banking system, shut down foreign investment for sure. And there's significant cost that we can impose on him. As you know, Maria, he's likely going to conduct offensive cyber warfare against the United States and Europe once these sanctions are imposed. So we have to be prepared for that. They can reciprocate and attack our banking and financial system, our oil and gas pipelines, to be sure. I mean, and we know they can do it. Now, listen, the Russians, when it comes to cyber, Maria, they're #2 in the world. China's the most prolific. The United States is #1, Russia's #2. I'm talking in terms of offensive cyber now. It is a
great point.
And they will likely come after us.
It is a really important point that you make, General. Thank you for that. We are expecting a ramp up in cyber attacks. Everybody watching right now should be changing their password on all accounts. One lawmaker also told me over the weekend he has now started printing out all of his bank statements regularly every month, so he has a record of it. General, thanks very much for joining us this morning. Very serious stuff, and we are in dangerous waters. General Jack Keane.